Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the University of Chinese. We are going to continue our journey in looking at one new Chinese expression a day. Sometimes I try to relate to my story of how I grew up with that phrase, how it occurred, how it came into my life, how it made meaning to me. I hope that's useful for your understanding of this language. Yesterday, we talked about 损人不利己, which is a expression that my teacher often uses to discourage people to think only from their own perspective, to try to benefit themselves, but at the same time, they're harming others. And as a result, they're not really doing themselves good either. So that's 损人不利己. Today we continue with 利己, which is benefiting self. Basically, it's an English self-interest, right? But Chinese, we express it in a way that's benefiting self. Okay. Li, again, we have this crop image on the left and the knife symbol on the right. I mean, the knife symbol is easy, right? It's a handle and with two edges. And then the crop comes from this plant symbol with kind of a trident looking thing like that. And then have a big stem standing with the spacer, I still call it a spacer, the big arch, downward pointing. And the whole symbol without this stroke slanting down, it's a tree. It's a tall standing plant. And then with this stroke, it means it's ripening, it's ready to be harvested. So the whole image of having a place a knife right next to this ready to harvest crop means it's harvesting, the action of harvesting. So harvesting, I guess the action of harvesting in an agrarian society ultimately defines what the kind of benefit you can think of, right? Which is you can harvest from a year's hard work. Maybe it's like twice a year or something, but it's the end of the planting season that you finally can benefit from it. So that's a moment of benefiting. Okay, 己, this is a rope. Okay, according to the scholars, this zigzag shape is a rope. I don't exactly know why the ropes are placed in this shape instead of like a ropes in our contemporary understanding of roping. Like the other day, I just went to REI to look at the ropings for mountaineers. It's a hung in this loops, right? Continue looping. So I don't know why Chinese use rope in this kind of loose and freestanding free form of that, but yeah, the language used the rope to self-refer, kind of point at oneself. So I have to come up with a story to explain why this is used to signify yourself, because ourselves are our own, the person who roped together all the threads in our life, that we are the bundlers. Okay, so that's the best story to come up with. So 利己, again, self-interest, and 主义. When you see 主义 in Chinese, it's a translation, of course. We don't have the expression of 主义 in traditional Chinese or classical Chinese. And this 主义 was somebody came up with this idea to go with the English ism. So whenever English have like a realism, right? Romanticism, whatever ism that kind of classify a group of trendsetters or thought leaders who come up with theories or expressions that they kind of distinctly can show their take on life, basically. Then they are grouped together as a sort of an ism, right? And this ism, whenever we see that, somebody come up with this 主义 as a translation of this ism in English. And I translate it individually as 主 is master and 义 is moral, master moral. Does it sound too deep for ism? Okay. Okay, master came from this candle holder. this is candle stand. I mean, the bottom actually is the soil symbol. We came across this many, many times because soil is the resource, the main resource you can grow crops, right? And the soil actually is defined by growing, the crop growing place or earth. It's not just anywhere. It's not just any kind of soil. It has to be crop growing, because the reason why is the first horizontal line is the ground level, and then this vertical line, it's something growing in there. And then the bottom line is the indicator, kind of the arrow, contemporary arrow pointing to show, okay, that's where we're talking about. It's below the ground level where the plant has to grow. So I have to meet the two conditions. And then the pointer is there. Like, that's what we're talking about. That's the soil. That's, plant growing earth, part of the earth. Okay. But in this frame, even if it's a soil looking thing, in this frame, it was said, because it's in combination of this cup looking thing with this oil or teardrop looking thing. And this is then become, this soil symbol became the stand for that candle holder. So the whole thing is a candle holder. And then, of course, this is a candle light. And we use that to mean kind of the beacon of light. And that's somebody who, I guess, thought leader is appropriate, like somebody who has the idea about things, and other people, or that person's thoughts can shed light on things that other people agree on, and therefore we got that person as the mastermind of something. So this candle image tied with this mind, this master ideas, or the main ideas. I guess also because in ancient times, that before electricity is, like right now, it's hard to imagine without electricity, but ancient times, you don't have lighting everywhere. So having a candle in your room as the light source, and then wherever that light source stays at, everybody in that space are going to kind of, gather toward that light source, right? And so in that sense, wherever that light source goes, people are going to follow. So therefore, this light source becomes this master, tied with the master, because that's the leader, so to speak. That's where you follow. Okay, so in a way, ancient Chinese probably use this expression to mean that people do follow, in this case, follow the light, and then extend it into follow thinking, follow thoughts. Because, ancient times we do have great philosophers, things like that. So they do have a large followings. Various sizes of followings. So that's the master. Okay, E. We have the top side, the sheep symbol, which is distinguished by the two pointy things. That's the horns of the sheep. And then the horizontal lines, 3 layers of horizontal lines, are the gravity defying fluffy hair, and only 1 little feet. It's super stylized, but interestingly abstracted sheep symbol. And you can see the main features of the sheep, the horns and the furs. Okay, so the sheep, in the West as well as in Chinese, sheep was used as sacrifice, as the best kind of meat that you, like humans value the best kind of meat, like lamb, right? And the lamb also symbolizes like a purity, but it's the best, the meat source valued by humans. Therefore, humans use that to offer to the god, the divine. And so this sacrifice as a sheep is kind of a universal. Like, that's amazing. That's something like cultures from different regions actually both value sheep as this sacrifice, special animal. Okay, the bottom is weaponry. It's 2 weaponry somehow tied together by this horizontal line. I guess this tied together by the horizontal line serves as unifying the 2 separate weapons into 1 character, because they have to be, connected somehow. But if just cut it in the middle, on the right side is It's 戈, it's a type of weaponry. I would imagine that. I mean, you can see pointy, somewhat pointy, that in ancient times, farming tools, sometimes they have sharp edges as well, right? They have metal pieces on the tip of it for the durability as well, right? So that farming tool, like if you could cut a plant to harvest it, you can probably use the similar convertible farming tools to kill as well, right? So in wartime, farm tools may be somehow converted to weaponry. So this is the type of, you know, farm/weapon. And then the left side is same, like sharp edges. And simply because it's a left and right, and because people, when we write, like our strokes go a certain way, right? And so the left and the right actually is the same kind of weaponry. So it's expressed or abstracted a little bit differently. You can see it's not symmetrical, but kind of similar looking. So it's, I would imagine your two hands, one hand each hold such farm tool/weaponry. And that's the definition of me. So we have the self-referral as a free-flowing rope, but we also have this responsibility field, like defend your country or defend your land, kind of farmer turned warrior responsibility for males back then. That's two handheld weaponry, also a definition of me, of 我. That's okay. If this is the one you just started learning Chinese, you must have come across this one. This is a Chinese version of I, like talking about the first person. This is the first person actually made of these two weapons. And so first person 我 plus the sheep 羊 and 我. It's almost like you're viewing yourself from your cultural perspective, that you're part of the member, you're their defensive forces, and when time calls, you can sacrifice yourself as if you're that sheep. You can make that sacrifice for the, you know, the tribe or your people. So the whole thing then becomes the moral high calling of the individual. Okay, then the master moral becomes for the whole school of thought or for the whole practice of things, you abstract it to show the leading thought, the master thought, or the highest moral, or the main idea of that school of thought. Then that's the 主义, how 主义 became, you know, when we unpack everything, how that corresponds, it's a Chinese way to respond to ism, like how we translate that is the master moral of that whole school of thought. Okay, so 利己主义, that means somebody who is always approach things thinking themselves first, starting from their own point of view and try to, you know, go about it by, at the end of the day, benefit themselves. I mean, it seems like nothing wrong, right? That's all we do all day long, right? We have to do things that, you know, self-care, self-interest, self-promoting, all that is like putting yourself in a position so that you interact with the world that can eventually benefit yourself, right? Grow yourself. So I see no wrong here, but in the context of translation of, in English, we have egoism. That means somebody who thinks only themselves, right? It's a kind of a dial to the extreme end. When you look at the things from your own perspective, then that means somebody who has the deficiency, almost like they cannot step beside themselves and look at the situation from other perspective. They're always self-centered, so they're always looking at things as if they are the center of the universe. So that's egoism, and that's how it's translated into Chinese, like benefit themselves always, and that's the main idea, main moral. So I just find this dragon fruit is very enticing and somehow probably abstractly represent our ego, that redness, and with little black seeds in a little bit human nature over there. But we are, I guess we grew from being self-centered to being able to appreciate other people's thinking. So if you're stuck in the self-centeredness, then that's the illustration of 利己主义. Okay, cashing into the currency of thinking by one word a day. See you next